Versailles Treaty. The economic consequences of Versailles were also a disaster. The new century's early economic expansion was totally disrupted. The revolution in Russia made European investments there worthless, tariffs rose, and world trade was badly disrupted. Germany was engulfed by the worst inflation ever suffered by an industrialized economy. At the end of the First World War, the German mark was worth about 25 cents. By November 1923, its value had shrunk 1 billion times. Workers in Essen took their pay home in barrels, and some 300 paper factories and 150 printing establishments were unable to turn out notes fast enough to keep the economy off a barter basis. Eventually, Hjalmar Schacht, later Hitler's Minister of Economy, introduced a device called the Rentenmark, based theoretically on a mortgage of all Germany. This device created a new currency, but did not salvage the ruined and embittered middle class. The man who profited most from this situation was Austrian-born Adolf Hitler, a former corporal in the German army who had a fanatical belief in his own mission, a genius for rabble-rousing oratory, and an ability to articulate the resentments and fears of ordinary Germans. In September 1919, he joined the minuscule German Workers' Party. He later named it Nationalsozialistische Deutsche Arbeiterpartei, National Socialist German Workers' Party, or Nazi for short. But the Nazi Party's appeal was narrow. There were many right-wing parties far better known and supported. Hitler decided to seize power in Munich, capital of Bavaria, in the beer hall putsch of 1923. The police opened fire, and 16 Nazis and 3 policemen were killed. Hitler ran and was caught and sentenced to prison for 5 years, but was out after 9 months of being treated like an honored guest. In prison, he wrote Mein Kampf, My Struggle, a hodgepodge of philosophical musings loosely gathered under the umbrella of the superiority of the German race and its destiny to rule Europe and the world. On his release, Hitler set himself to rebuild the party and to achieve power by constitutional means. He appealed to the German people by constantly reminding them of the humiliation of their defeat in the war, repeating the popular myth that the German armies had been stabbed in the back by the Jewish-dominated government. Jews weren't the only group hated by the Nazi Party. They shared that honor with communists and socialists, among others. He railed at the wrongs done Germany by the Treaty of Versailles, and he damned democracy and the ineffectiveness of the Weimar Republic. With these subjects for his tirades went a virulent anti-Semitism in which Hitler blamed the Jews for all ills of Germany and of the world, past and present. Interviewed by a reporter in 1925, Hitler said his deepest desire was to see Jews hanging from every lamppost in Munich. His madness on the subject probably hurt more than it helped with the voters, and despite Hitler's ability as a rabble-rouser, the Nazi Party remained small until the economic slump of 1929. Then, as unemployment rose, the Nazis skillfully exploited the growing despair. They had received less than 1 million votes in the elections of 1928, but in 1930 they got more than 6 million, and by 1932, nearly 14 million. The German Communist Party had also grown with hard times, but Hitler was more adept at intrigue. He made political alliances with the industrialists, with nationalist politicians, and with the army generals, and got himself named Chancellor by President Paul von Hindenburg in January 1933. The next month, when a fire destroyed the Reichstag, Germany's national capital in Berlin, the Nazis used it as an excuse to jail, beat, and torture Jews and communists wholesale. Other political parties were gagged, and the churches were made subservient. A bloodbath within the Nazi Party eliminated any internal opposition to Hitler. The Nazis were masters of politics and unsurpassed in the art of mass political rallies. They could play many strings in the soul of Germany, which they did best at the annual party rally at Nuremberg. There, in a delirious round of music, parades, speeches, and pagan pageantry, all party members, from Hitler down to the shabbiest village block leader, regenerated their enthusiasm and faith. The rallies were held in early September and lasted a week. The first was in 1933 after Hitler became chancellor, and there